Hey, hello, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Fantasy Six Pack to talk about Monday Night Football. And boy, oh boy, do we have a heavyweight matchup. It's a repeat of the Super Bowl from last year. The Philadelphia Eagles go all the way to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs in Arrowhead. And this game should be full of fireworks and just fantasy goodness, especially from a DFS perspective. This one kicks off promptly at 8:15 p.m. Before I get into a final score, I feel a little overtime game action coming on too, and we'll get to that. But before that, make sure you go to the website at Fantasy Six Pack, and when you get there, .net, when you get there, tell them Beastie sent you, and you can pick out whatever premium package works best for you. And the cheapest one is $9.99. And with Thanksgiving less than a week away, Christmas is right around the corner. What better gift to give to one of your loved ones than a premium membership to Fantasy Six Pack, whether it's for DFS and sports betting or for rankings and getting your seasonal teams dialed in as the playoffs start in that arena, because Fantasy Six Pack has, it's well documented, they have some of the best rankers that are out there, top 5, top 10 in all different arenas. So make sure you get to the website, check it out, and you'll get all access to the Discord, and that's where you can find me along with everybody else, Dave, Keith, Joe, everybody else here with the website. You want to get a hold of me, that's where to do it. Make sure you go to fantasysixpack.net. Now, let's talk about the football game. As I said, the Eagles fly a little bit west to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs at Arrowhead, which is going to be booming here tonight. Kickoff is at 8:15. As I said, right now, the over-under's around 46 total points. And everything I've seen all weekend, even today so far, people are liking the under. But again, 46 it's not a tough number to get to when you're the Eagles with Hurts and when you're the Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. But as we get through the video, it'll start to take shape. So as I said, over under about 46 points. Philadelphia 8-1. They are rolling in the NFC. Kansas City 7-2. They're positioning themselves in the AFC very well. When we look at Jalen Hurts right off the bat, that's where I want to start with it. Kansas City right now, 4th overall against opposing quarterbacks, and Jalen Hurts is his own beast, his own monster. DVP in a way for Jalen Hurts doesn't really matter, but when we look at this thing, he's 16.5 on FanDuel, 11 grand on DraftKings, $38 on Yahoo. I have Jalen Hurts. You're looking at 23 to 24 completions, around 265, 270 yards, and a touchdown pass. I think he finds the end zone on the ground as well on 8 or 9 carries and another 40 yards. So a little bit, I wouldn't say well over, but I would put him over the 300 all-purpose yards, and we will move on. When you look at Patrick Mahomes, I mean, again, you talk about Hurts as a stone-cold stud at quarterback. Patrick Mahomes has set the bar for how many seasons now? In Philadelphia, 29th overall against opposing quarterbacks. And you might say, well, the Philadelphia Eagles' defensive front is strong, and their back seven are good as well. But when you get a guy like Patrick Mahomes in there and his bag of tricks and anything he can do, it's amazing. Right now, Patrick Mahomes, $17,000 on FanDuel, 11.2 on DK, and he's $37 on Yahoo. And again, he's a ton of dough, but you're going to get what you pay for. 26 to 27 completions. I'm thinking around 300 to 310 yards and a pair of touchdown passes. When I look at him on the ground here, I have him for around 4 to 5 carries for around 25 to 30 yards. So Patrick Mahomes, pair of touchdowns, you're looking at well over 300 yards in the air with his arm. When we look at the running backs here on today's slate, Kansas City and their running backs, it's never been like a must-have, right? They can, take or leave it, however the saying is, but you have to pay attention to Isiah Pacheco or Jerick McKinnon. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the second coming for a few months, way back when he was drafted, but as it stands now, it's the Isiah Pacheco show, and why wouldn't it be? When you look at him, he's $11,000 on FanDuel, 7.2 on DK, and $18 on Yahoo. But buyer beware, the Philadelphia Eagles are first overall against opposing running backs. But again, Pacheco can do some things in the air and on the ground. I have Pacheco 11 to 12 carries, around 50 yards, and 3 to 4 receptions for another 20 yards. And as it stands right now, Pacheco averaging around 4.3 yards a carry, which is, it's not awful, but it's not in that 5 yards a carry range that you would like to see. see. When you look at Jerick McKinnon, I mean, I have a soft spot for him. That's no secret. Anytime Kansas City is up playing, or I can write an article about, bottom of the barrel, I try and mention McKinnon, and rightfully so. McKinnon, 6.5 on FanDuel, 5.6 on DK, $11 on Yahoo. 2 to 3 carries, around 10 yards. You're not going to get a ton of him from him on the ground. You're looking at what he's going to do in the reception area. I have 2 to 3 receptions, around 20 to 25 yards. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that's up to you. Nothing crazy. $6,000 on FanDuel, and we'll move on. When we look at the Philadelphia Eagles running backs, now we're kind of talking. But again, Kansas City, very stout against running backs as well. They put together a nice tight-knit group of linebackers with Willie Gay and Tranquil, and they can get things going. When they're running downhill, it is bad news for any opposing running back or even the quarterback. When you look at DeAndre Swift, however, $13,000 on FanDuel, 8.4 on DK, $27 on Yahoo. I have DeAndre Swift, who has remained healthy all season, and that is so fantastic to see. There's no ill will there, and hopefully I didn't jinx him like I did in yesterday's video. We'll just knock on wood, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we will move on. When you look at Swift, 14, 15 carries, 65 to 70 yards, and 3 to 4 receptions for another 25 yards or so. And as it stands now, DeAndre Swift averaging around 4.5, 4.6 yards a carry. That's beautiful. Kenny Gainwell, another guy we need to pay attention to, just in a salary relief, kind of like in a secondary role, right? It's a roll of the dice when it comes to the Philadelphia running backs. We've seen cases where it's all Swift, and then, God forbid he fumbles the football, and boom, it's the Kenny Gainwell show for a series or two. But when we look at Gainwell, 8.5 on FanDuel, 4.4 on DK, $15 on Yahoo, 4 to 5 carries, around 20 yards, and 2 to 3 receptions for another 10 to 15 yards. Now, when we move on to the wide receiver, there's a lot to say here because you're looking at A.J. Brown and Smith. Julio Jones is going to be active tonight, and then when you get to the Kansas City wide receivers, there's like 5 guys all in that little area where there's, like I said, 4 or 5 of them, and I all have them for the same, 3 to 4 targets, 2 to 3 receptions, nothing crazy. So let's start with what we know, and that is A.J. Brown scoring a touchdown here tonight. That is a lock. That is an anytime touchdown bet if I've ever seen one, paired with Travis Kelce, but I'm getting ahead of myself. As it stands right now, Kansas City 8th overall against opposing wide receivers, but A.J. Brown has been, unbelievable this season, in a way historic. He just recently, Philadelphia had their bye week, but A.J. Brown had 6 games in a row with 125 or more receiving yards, and that was snapped against Dallas in week 9, if I'm remembering that correctly. So why not start a new streak here on Monday Night Football? A.J. Brown, $15,000 on FanDuel, 10.2 on DK, $37 on Yahoo, 10-11 targets, 7 to 8 receptions, well over 100 yards. And yes, he will catch a touchdown pass. And if it matters, a little cherry on top, A.J. Brown averaging 15 yards a reception. That is outstanding. Rested and ready. Let's roll A.J. Brown. When we get to Devonta Smith, he's an outstanding wide receiver in his own right. Him and A.J. Brown complement each other very well because they do, granted they're both wide receivers, but they handle the position in different ways. Devonta Smith, $12,000 on FanDuel, $9,000 on DK, $20 on Yahoo. I have Devonta, 7 to 8 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, 65 to 70 yards. And when you look at Smith, he's averaging around 12.7 yards a reception. So if there's a way you can fit both A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith in the same lineup, go for it. And while I have the chance here, I will say this. I'll say it at the end of the video, and I'll say it now. I will share some sample lines on my personal TikTok if time allows so, or if that is even allowed. And again, anything I've seen on TikTok, it's like anything goes, right? People are doing some wild stuff on TikTok. So why am I going to be? Who cares if Detroit Beastie shares some free sample lines on FanDuel? Who cares? When we look at like Julio Jones, again, maybe a big player too. That's all they brought him in for. I mean, his best days are behind him, but you're looking at 2 to 3 targets, 2 to 3 receptions, 20 yards, nothing crazy. Olamide Z, 7.5 on FanDuel, 1,200 on DK. I'm good there. 1 or 2 targets, 1 or 2 receptions. But again, Olamide might catch one pass for 20 yards. And that's it. And that's okay, given his price tag. When we look at the Kansas City wide receivers, as I said, it's Rashee Rice, MVS, McCole Hardman, Justin Watson, Sky Moore. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And there's not one definitive wide receiver one. And again, when you're the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, you don't really need a wide receiver one, right? Because he's very good at spreading the ball around. And again, I'd hate to repeat myself, but you don't need a wide receiver one when you have Travis Kelce. He's a tight end, but he's a wide receiver one. He's the tight end one. He is the ultimate, offensive weapon. But when we look at the wide receivers, Rice, MVS, Hardman, Justin Watson, Sky Moore, obviously I would prefer Rashee Rice. Philadelphia actually 32nd against opposing wide receivers. So if you wanted to, I've already started to do it, building a lineup just with all of those wide receivers. You put in Patrick Mahomes at the MVP captain spot, and then you put in Rice, MVS, you put in Justin Watson, and then you'd have your choosing of whatever Philadelphia Eagle that you want, and boom, there's your lineup. You stack up all the wide receivers, add in, you add in Travis Kelce, and then we are rolling. When you look at Rashee Rice, 4 to 5 targets, 3 to 4 receptions, 40 to 45 yards. He's a little bit expensive for me on FanDuel, 10 grand, but on DraftKings, 7.4, and on Yahoo, only $20. MVS, 8.5 on FanDuel, 3 grand on DK, 13 bucks on Yahoo. When you look at MVS, he's averaging 17.8 yards a reception. That is lovely, and you're only looking at 3 to 4 targets, 2 to 3 receptions for MVS. And lastly, it was a toss-up to me between, Sky Moore or Justin Watson, but we've seen, Justin Watson has made himself, available to Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes trusts him. So why shouldn't we, not trust him? And when you look at Watson, 3 to 4 targets, 2 to 3 receptions. I'm thinking 30 to 35 yards. And Watson, as I said, 19.7 yards a reception he's averaging. And you'll love to see that. So if Watson can catch 2 or 3 passes times 19.7, basically 20 yards, 20 times 3 would be 60 yards. So Justin Watson needs to be on our radar. Only 8 grand on FanDuel, 2.4 on DK. When we look at the tight ends, it's all about Travis Kelce, because unfortunately Dallas Goedert broke his forearm last time out. And I'll get to Jack Stoll, Grant Calcaterra, Albert okay, but I want to start with Travis Kelce briefly, because Philadelphia 29th overall against opposing tight ends. Travis is another one of those guys where that doesn't matter. You could have a brick wall on the other side of it, and I would still look to get Travis Kelce in my DFS lineups. Right now, Kelce, 14 grand on FanDuel, 10 grand on DK, $33 on Yahoo, an absolute lock to score a touchdown. That is like written in stone, right? Same thing with A.J. Brown. Pair those two up for an anytime touchdown. But Chris, what are we getting in terms of yardage and targets? Travis Kelce, 9 to 10 targets, 7 to 8 receptions, 75 to 80 yards. Kind of could be his floor, 75 to 80 yards, and that touchdown reception. Noah Gray might be in the mix. I mean, move the chains on. You might catch 2 passes or so for 8 yards, for 12 yards. 1 or 2 of those will be for a first down. So don't overlook Noah Gray just because Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the game right now. I have Noah Gray, 2 to 3 receptions for about 20 yards. When we look at the Philadelphia Eagles tight ends, nothing good going on there, but in a way it's like, how can I put this? It's not like I'm not forcing you to do, you're not forced to do anything, but of all the Philadelphia Eagles tight ends, I would prefer Jack Stoll. Granted, KC 10th overall against opposing tight ends, but there could be a case here where Kansas City puts all their eggs in, defending, the Philadelphia Eagles wide receivers like AJ and Julio and all this stuff, where Jack Stoll might get loose once or twice, and he's only 5.5 on FanDuel, 3.2 on DK, $10 on Yahoo, the bare minimum. I have Stoll 2 to 3 targets, 2 receptions, maybe three receptions would be outstanding, around 10 to 15 yards. So nothing crazy there. But again, anything can happen. So if you're looking for, like a last minute cheap filler, look Jack Stoll's way. You never know what could happen. It's Monday night. These two teams it's a heavyweight bout. They're going to be taking shots after shot, just body blows and just big time plays here. So Jack Stoll is on my radar. If you choose to live that way or go that route, then have at it. As we look at the kickers here, Jake Elliott, Harrison Butker, to be fair, as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm feeling an overtime kind of game here. And I think there is a field goal made to win the game. By who will it be by? I'll let you know in a minute. But when we look at Jake Elliott, Harrison Butker, two of the premier, kickers in all of the league, especially for fantasy purposes. Jake Elliott 9.5 on FanDuel, Butker 9.5 as well. Elliott 5.2 on DK. On DraftKings, Harrison Butker is $5,000. I would prefer Jake Elliott, but that's just me. When we look at the DSTs, because we're coming up on 15 minutes, I have some recent betting trends I want to get to. I got a final score to give you, and we can get the heck out of here. So let's finish this video up strong. As you can see, I'm not in my normal realm here. I'm back in the DFS dungeon for what should be a phenomenal football game. The Eagles DST, the Chiefs DST. Of the two, I have both teams 2 to 3 sacks, each team with an interception, each team with a fumble recovery. So it's going to be up to you as the viewer or you as the DFS player to kind of mix and match, right? If you're going to stack up, the Philadelphia Eagles, then I would put in their defense just to be safe. So, you're smart enough to figure that kind of stuff out. So to be fair, both DSTs are in play for me here tonight. Some recent betting trends, and we will move on. The Philadelphia Eagles are 11-2 straight up. Their last 13 games on the road. Philly 1-4 against the spread. Their last 5 games against Kansas City. When you look at the Chiefs, they're 11-1. Their last 12 games at home. That one loss, I think we know what that one loss was. First game of the season against the Detroit Lions. Had to give you a little dig there. And lastly, the under has come in the last 5 games for Kansas City. So, Chris, which way are we going? Where are we betting here? I have the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game in overtime, 24-21. So Jake Elliott will be the hero, and he'll silence the Arrowhead completely. And lastly, when I look at the final score here, Philly winning 24-21, there's 2 little bets you could place. You could take Philadelphia plus 2.5. They're going to win outright at minus 105. Or if you want to put some hair on your chest, you can take the Philadelphia Eagles minus 2.5. You can get that for plus 150. I have them winning by 3. You can get them minus 2.5 at plus 150. So be good, be safe. Bottom of the barrel will be out soon. Quarterbacks will be out Tuesday. Be good, be safe, and have fun, and let's enjoy this game. Philadelphia Eagles will win in overtime, 24-21. See you later.